On the Newsfeed PM. Thanks for staying on. President Cyril Ramaphosa has filed an application for leave to appeal a recent High Court judgment on the National Health Insurance Act. Last week, the North Gauteng High Court ruled that the president's decision to sign the NHI bill into law is subject to judicial review. The court ordered him to provide a record of the decision-making process within 10 days. Ramaphosa says he will not only challenge the judgment, but will also approach the Constitutional Court before the 27th of May. The NHI Act, signed into law on May 15, 2024, has faced opposition from various stakeholders, including the Board of Healthcare Funders and the South African Private Practitioners Forum, BHF, which represents many medical schemes, challenged the president's signing of the bill into law. And this week told Newzroom Afrika it was also planning to launch 2 more cases against the NHI. All right, joining us now, Dr. Aslam Dasoo, National Convener of the Progressive Health Forum. Dr. Dasoo, good to have you. Thank you very much for your time. As anticipated, this NHI bill or act, if you like, is going to be caught in numerous legal challenges along the way.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. Yes, it is. And it's unfortunate because it was entirely predictable. At the moment, there are 6 cases. The one in question is part of one case of both the BHF and the Private Practitioners Forum. They have that part quite similar, but they have other issues in their respective litigation as well. And it's really a central point asking whether the president applied his mind before assenting to the bill, given its numerous flaws that were pointed out during the parliamentary process and before that. Indeed, the parliamentary process was quite surprising because even the parliamentary legal advisors told Parliament that this bill is most likely unconstitutional, but they ignored that. They ignored their own legal advice and pushed it through. You will also recall, I hope, that the president, before the last election, was asked to sign the bill by the ANC and by Parliament. And he spent about 9 or 10 days searching for a pen with which to sign. You might recall him saying so. And it was clear that he was reluctant to sign it.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that he's taking this finding on appeal, given that it would be difficult to know what he would say in his disclosure, given that he was obviously reluctant, and that he did sign it anyway.
Yeah.
And here's where we are now. So I suspect that the litigation will continue, and it can go all the way to the Constitutional Court. And one expects that even there, it will not. The president's case will not succeed.
Somehow the president feels, he will succeed in how a president could exercise his powers as far as, of course, assenting or signing of a bill. And he says, well, I don't legislate. Of course, it's legislated elsewhere and brought to me.
But the issue really is about they want the record of his assenting to the bill. What was discussed? Why did he approve the bill when there were so many flaws in it that were pointed out? So I suppose, the lawyers will argue this and that and technicalities, but the principle is the same. When Nelson Mandela, as president, was challenged by the late Louis Late of the rugby union for not applying his mind in determining whether the Springbok emblem should stay or go, the president himself absolutely confidently appeared in court and made his case. I don't know why the president now can't do the same or even just disclose the record of his assenting to the bill. That's what he is defending, not his right to make executive decisions. We know that. Those rights are enshrined in the Constitution. But he is obliged to give public disclosure of his reasons, and that is what is at stake here.
Now, of course, you are saying, as you just articulated now, you are not challenging his discretion that he enjoys as president to make executive decisions.
Of course not. You can't, because that's prescribed by the Constitution and by legislation passed by Parliament. So that's all in order. what BHF and SAPF wants is the record of his assent.
Yeah.
And that's his difficulty now.
Yeah.
As I said at the beginning, he appeared very reluctant to sign the bill.
Yeah.
And we do know for a fact that the ANC was very worried just before the election because the polls were not looking good. And they wanted this act to be passed or assented to by the president so it could be used as part of their message to the people.
Yeah.
Indeed, when it was signed, the Premier of Gauteng addressed a rally saying, the day after the election, now, you can go to any hospital, any doctor, get any treatment you need anywhere, and the state will pay. That's what he said, which is utterly absurd because this act, even if it stands, will take another 10 years to implement after the 15 years they've kept us waiting for it.
Yeah.
And having stopped all healthcare reform in the meantime. So what you're dealing with here is not only a party which on the tracking polls after the signing of that bill into an act showed a decline in support.
Yeah.
It tells you the people are not stupid, that you can't lie. And I think they are caught up in this now, and they must face it.
He's going to argue that, well, look, this has been a process that was done by Parliament. It has nothing to do with the ANC. The bill was passed through Parliament. And so this challenge severely threatens the autonomy of a arm of government, the legislative authority of Parliament.
Yeah, I'm sure they can make that argument. It won't hold much water, in my view, because Parliament's own passage of this bill was so utterly flawed. Its entire public consultation process, which is part of other litigation coming, were entirely flawed. And you know, Thabo, I think if we take a step back and to get some context here, the original health policy for a post-apartheid South Africa was developed, the building blocks were developed in the 1980s by the UDF health structures. It was then taken, I know I was there, it was then taken to Parliament in 1997, the first democratic parliament approved there a year after the Constitution was adopted. It was completely in line with that. And a process of reform was being rolled out that would have seen by 2012 a fully integrated healthcare system for South Africa with a strong public system catering for 80 to 90% of the population, world class, because we had all the ingredients, and a private sector, fully functional private sector that was legitimately profitable. Neither of those two exigencies have survived this NHI process, which began in 2007, where they summarily stopped that reform process. And we've been waiting for these last 15 or 17 years about how this idea that they put forward, it wasn't researched, it wasn't costed. They've spent billions of rand on consultants trying to retrofit it. And now we have this goulash of an act that can't be implemented, that is being litigated and will be litigated for years, no doubt. And also, while the system is collapsing. So they didn't even take care of the system while they were doing this. The public service is on its knees, as we hear every day. The private sector is overheating, and they are saying so. The health market inquiry that finished in 2019 made it categorical. You have to implement these regulatory reforms in the private sector. The private sector wants that. It's global standard regulation they've sat on because it will contradict the NHI. Last, let me just say, there is a political motive here, and it's being pushed hard. And your NHI is a funding proposition that will collect all funding for healthcare, that's public, provincial health budgets, plus what you are paying to your medical schemes now, knowing that you won't pay it voluntarily to the government. They are going to increase taxes. Payroll taxes can go up between 8 and 10%, our payroll taxes. So if they can't get a 0.5% VAT rise, when on earth are they going to get an 8 to 10% payroll tax? It's being litigated. It will require 12 acts of parliament to change, 2 constitutional amendments. Why? So they can pool all the money under a board appointed by a minister in an SOE model? What could go wrong, Thabo? Let me ask you, when you see what's happened to other SOEs. We are playing with the people's healthcare future here. We have the capacity to fix it. We've presented the plan. that was endorsed by 40 medical organizations, healthcare and medical patient advocacy groups, endorsed, saying this you can implement now. We've built into it everything that has been deficient over these last few years.
Yeah.
Do it. It'll cost you no more.
Yeah.
It takes minimal, and you can have a system in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
The minister returned saying, no, it's all sub judice, we can't talk. What is that? It's absurd. These people are a threat to our healthcare.
Right.
And I think the president is caught in the middle here.
The minister would have said, I mean, in the times that I've spoken to him, that you can do both. You can improve the healthcare system while you go ahead with universal access.
Why didn't they do it for the last 17 years? Ask them. They haven't done it. But now they can do it? This is gaslighting, Thabo. You can see it. Because, you know, when you hear of the serial disasters just here in Gauteng, which has the most comprehensive and complex set of health institutions you'll find anywhere on the continent, it's being run like a spaza by a department that doesn't know what it's doing, that has taken all power away from facilities and health professionals who are trained to optimize the delivery platform. They decided head office who will be appointed as head of neurovascular surgery in a far-off hospital. What an absurdity. No one does it like that. But then they can also control the budgets at the same time, as we saw at Tembisa Hospital.
Right.
4 billion rand sucked out of the budget of one hospital. Gone.
Dr. Dasoo?
Whistleblowers were here.
I appreciate your time.
So I'm saying,
Let's leave it there. Unfortunately, we're completely out of time. But thank you very much for coming on. That's Dr. Aslam Dasoo there.